All right. Good evening. We will call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua.
Present.
Councilmember Ludwig.
Here.
Councilmember Shockley.
Here.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Here.
And President Lima is absent.
Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance. Member Pasqua, can you please lead us? Emergency evacuation plan. Please exit out the doors in the rear to the left, to the parking lot. Agenda item B2, approval of town council minutes, September 12th, 2022. Clerk, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a first, we have a second. Let's enter the discussion. Clerk, were there any corrections to the minutes?
Just on September 12th, I had one correction that I made.
One correction. Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua.
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig.
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley.
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc.
Yes. And Member Lima absent. Item B3, ratification of a joint
FY23. This is the start of a different presentation. I broke out this the summary of the general fund, and I broke out the ARPA funds because the ARPA funds are technically a special revenue. So with that in mind, we have a surplus in the general fund as of 10/31/22, 1.6, comparative last year at 10/31/21, 1.9. Revenues are currently at 33.11%, lower than last year's 35.61. And what else do we need? Expenditures are currently at 31.68%, lower than last year's 33.89%. Summary of the ARPA funds attached is an ARPA report. This should be the last page. This represents the ARPA funds received and expended in the respective periods. I'm not sure if everyone looked at the note on the ARPA. This is not the balance sheet. This is an actual what is received and expended within this current period.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Any questions? Member Pasqua?
Question on the ARPA funds. What do we have in that? Do you have that information now, what we have in the ARPA fund account?
Yes, it's almost 10 million with the interest income.
And one more question. The $1.6 million surplus, is that what we're seeing as like a balance in the general fund now?
So surplus and general, then fund balance is two different things. Okay, so this is just the general fund for this period, point in time. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, I saw 1.6 million and I don't know what we have for weekly expenses going out. And I'm just trying to kind of gauge the collection process and cash flow, just to understand that that's a expected number.
So from a financial standpoint, so this is why we show you a comparative of the prior year at the same point in time. So we're a little bit lower than last year, but that is due to starting the property taxes late. So they started in the collection in August. So that was one part of it. But as far as if we have weekly money for weekly expenses or monthly expenses, yes, we have cash flow for that. Yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I do have one question. In a past council meeting, I had asked about a balance sheet, and I know that I got an answer that it's going to take some time to get a balance sheet for us. Have we tried to work on that so we can get that monthly?
I have not. We're still short staffed. The primary goal right now is the audit. So the primary goal is doing the compilation of an audit. I can say with certainty, you will not get a balance sheet from this Keystone software. So if you want, that is part of the goals that I had given to Mr. Marchant, the town manager, that the finance department have monthly financials, but we're not going to be able, we don't have that capability with this Keystone. It doesn't do a consolidation. There's a lot of issues and we don't have enough staff. So all those combined. So does that answer your question?
It definitely answers it. I guess where I'm confused is how we know that the P&L is correct without a balance sheet.
Because I prove out all the revenue coming in from each department. We have internal controls with revenue summary sheets that I've designed, and each department brings them in, signs off to the being valid. We deposit them and we book them.
What about liabilities and accruals?
What's that?
What about liabilities and accruals?
Well, the liabilities we have are bond. Okay, so those are already on the balance sheet. And
They're already on the balance sheet.
bonds, yeah.
But it would probably adjust it to a prior period at some point. I just
No.
don't know where it stands currently.
When we make a bond payment, we reflected it currently. So,
I guess without seeing a balance sheet, we just don't know if it's being reflected.
well, I totally agree that you should have a balance sheet, but trying to get go ahead. Yeah. Without the appropriate staff and getting caught up from prior internal controls that were not the best, there's a priority, and priority is internal controls. We have 2 brand new staff. Our whole finance department is new. I'm the oldest at 2 years. So we got a long ways to go.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Shockley?
I just wasn't sure you spoke about internal documents that you're creating so that you know that things have been booked and
without having that be a public document that's shared, would it be something you'd be able to share with the council and something that might answer Vice President LeBlanc's question?
Well, I mean, I don't think we can really share that. If you, I welcome any town council member to come in and look at all the binders. There's about 50 binders for revenue for just the tax collection and other departments. So, I mean, copying 50 binders worth throughout the year. I don't know what kind of detail you're going to want, but feel free to come in and see how that's posted. When we receive it, we deposit it, and it shows right on top of the summary that it's deposited in the general ledger. The receipt documentation is printed out at Keystone. So I'm not sure what else.
Yeah, in fairness, I'm asking the question just based on the fact that you said you have items that you fill out on a monthly basis so that you know what's come in and gone out. So I don't want to look at 50 books worth of anything, but if there's something that you're taking care of on a monthly basis, and that was something that could be looked at as opposed to through the dawn of.
Yeah, and we actually just incorporated three additional departments that were not on this revenue internal controls, and that's recreation, police, and planning. So they weren't part of the initial internal controls, and they have been completed as of November, and they're going to start their new process. So that's huge because there was a lot of work involved in that.
Okay, thank you. I do think that possibly there should be a conversation with Keystone. Even if we're going to switch out our financial software, it's going to take a while. And they are a financial software company. So the fact that they don't have the ability to do such a basic statement, I'm not an accountant or an auditor, but I know what these statements are. So it just seems so basic that at least it should be discussed with Keystone. And I'm sure you have. So I guess I really am just looking to know what
We
that
have,
discussion
and
was.
this goes back to the fact that we selected Keystone from the low bid and then valued and engineered it lower and don't have the functionality we need. So they came and told us that we don't have the system designed the way they normally do it for all their other clients, and we're the exception. And so that puts us in a very difficult position to ask for stuff because now we're paying for them to go rewrite every request, every report, every month. And it's a big hassle.
And I just want to add to that. So even the payroll is so cumbersome. We have a new payroll person. It's been here 4 weeks. A lot of it's manual. There was originally a macro set up for the police department. Any new employee cannot be incorporated in the macro. So we have to manually put a new employee in. It is a very labor intensive process for Keystone. And as far as a consolidated balance sheet or any kind of balance sheet per se, you're talking what it would take to do the simplest the thing like an audit. You would want to do that monthly. I strongly suggest a couple more accountants because that's what it's going to take. My recommendation, and it's been brought to Mr. Marchand, and we've spent 6 months. We can't get a senior accountant here. The couple that we have, they got offered other jobs before we could even interview them. That person should be assigned to the special revenue funds, the balance sheet, consolidation, report writing. That was the goal. But we can't seem to get anyone in here.
Member Lowy?
This just plays off of Councilor Shockley's request. I don't need to see the binders either, but I believe we've asked a couple times for a summary of some of the types of controls that were put in. So while I don't think it's urgent for this week, I think a few examples would be very helpful for myself and for the public. So for example, I know in the last year or so, we changed over to TD Bank.
Right.
We've done a few things differently than in the past. And I think just even a handful of examples would be very helpful for us or for me to understand what type of control you're doing. I don't need a list of every single thing.
We'll prepare a summary report of financial controls that we've implemented since Director Mills started 2 years ago.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
And it does sound like what you're saying before about the financial software I mean, this is all what we heard when we were talking about the ARPA possible requests. So because that's not on the agenda tonight, we don't have to go into it. But if you could please consider that for a future agenda item. I think we asked to go out to RFP or at least start an RFP on the financial software. So I'd request an ARPA discussion in the new year. Thank you.
I'm just going to add one more thing, just so you know. We, in my departments, we are, and some of the departments because there's 3 departments, there's tax collection, there's tax assessor and finance, and some oversight with the school department. We have procedures, a couple of departments are fully written procedures. And so this come a long, long way because there was no procedures written up in prior years, and we actually got written up for it in the audit. So on top of internal controls, we actually have procedures. So if someone walks away, including with payroll, procedures are written. So it's quite a lot better shape than it ever was.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. Agenda item B5, Ben Marchant, Town Manager, updates on the financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021, and related timeline for audit completion, and financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022, and related audit schedule and expected deliverable due dates.
So the good news is the June 30, 2021 audit is done as of today. And this evening, we were just waiting on the email for the final so that we will have it posted on the town website tonight. It's dragged out all the way to even this meeting, but it's finally done. There were a number of issues that the auditor and the school department were working on with the Office of Municipal Finance last week, and it finally all came together. For the 2022 audit, we have 3 weeks of dates in January that we received from the auditor to begin work with the school and town to start the 22 audit. I do not have a specific schedule with deliverable due dates, but I'm hoping that we can work with them when we meet.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Member Ludwig?
So Manager Marchant, when we talked, I want to say it was last month, we had asked for a specific list of items that would be relevant to getting the 2022 audit submitted as fast as possible. And it sounds like we've basically said we won't be able to make the December 31st timeline, and we don't know exactly when we are going to push into 2023. So I did, and I think probably most of the council did receive your memo on those points. I think it would be helpful for us to get a summary together and review that with the public. I did not feel comfortable just forwarding something like that out. So I'd like some sort of list or summary or something that we can share with the public that goes over those points. If that would be helpful for my counselors, I'd like to request that.
I can prepare a summary sheet.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to move F1 in front of C1.
Make that motion.
I'll second that.
Have a first and a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
and President Lim is absent.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Agenda item F1, petition for zone change from R20 residential half acre to GB general business AP 32 lot 78 zone R20 96 Tioga Avenue, owner Joanne A. Plant, and applicant John Vestikich. I have a motion to entertain this item.
I'll motion to go into public comment.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, you need to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the hearing.
I'll second it.
First and second, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes,
President Lima absent.
we will open public hearing. If anybody is here tonight to speak on this item, please raise your hand, come to the mic, say your name, your address, and your comments.
Good evening. My name is Linda. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of my neighbors who would be affected by this proposed zoning change. 96 Tyoke Ave is directly behind us and to the side of us. We live on a quiet, very safe cul-de-sac. All of the structures that are directly behind us on this stretch of Tyoke Ave are all residences, not businesses, and we believe it should remain that way. Here are some facts that pertain to this matter. There are references to the September 28th and October 26th planning board meetings, both of which I have a copy of for anybody who would like to view them. During its September 26th meeting, the town council heard a petitioned request from Ms. Plant and Mr. Vitkovich to rezone 96 Tyoke Ave from residential to general business. The town council referred the proposal to the planning commission for their findings and recommendations. At this meeting, Ms. Plant stated that she can no longer afford the property due to recently retiring and is on a fixed income. Mr. Vitkovich stated that Ms. Plant is selling the property because she was under contract in Millinock, Maine on a new home, and she closed around November 1st, 2022. At the planning board meeting on September 28th, a favorable motion was made by member Kenny to recommend the town council approve a zone change. He stated that this property is consistent with the comprehensive plan, as there are other businesses located across and next to the property. This statement is not accurate. There are no businesses next to 96 Tyoke Ave. In fact, there are no businesses on the 96 Tyoke Ave until you reach Dexter Auto Body, which is at 230 Tyoke Ave, or the business strip located at 64 Tyoke Ave in West Warwick. This inaccurate statement may have swayed Mr. Reyes to second the motion, as well as the vote of the other members. At the October 26th Planning Board meeting, Director Durfee said that there are two items of conformity to the comprehensive plan that seem suspect. It's difficult to make a positive finding under this zoning purpose to convert the immediate area under consideration from residential to general business, given the stated plan's intended land use for the area. The existing land use pattern of uses in this area in both our town and West Warwick is such that general business is on the other side of Tyoke Ave, and the side with 96 is predominantly residences. As one could find that the proposed zoning amendment is not in conformance with the neighboring town's future land use plan on a specific basis. This supports the argument that the property should remain residential. Also at this meeting, Mr. Vitkovich stated that there are interested parties of new and low impact businesses wishing to expand, but he doesn't state what type of businesses there are. And it's our fear as responsible homeowners to have something that could be less than desirable in our backyard. In closing, if the planning board members were given accurate information from the beginning regarding the businesses and residences on this stretch of Tyoke Ave, the motion may not have been seconded and the vote may not have taken place. In addition, according to Mr. Vitkovich at the October 26th Planning Board meeting, residential property is not desirable in a business district. As abutting property owners, we don't want to risk our properties being deemed undesirable, thus losing value because we abut a business now. I would like to add that if someone wanted to open a small business in Coventry, you could drive along Tyoke Ave and there's multiple opportunities for storefront. What we don't have is many opportunities for first-time home buyers or young families looking to purchase a home in this great town. This property could fulfill that need. I hope that my statement on behalf of myself and my neighbors has given you enough information, and we implore you to reject the request for a zoning change from residential to general business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comment. Would anybody else like to speak? Rep, please say your name, your address.
I certainly will. My name is Representative Patricia A. Serpa, 194 Kimberly Lane in West Warwick. And I want to congratulate those of you who were newly elected, I think. But I did want you to know that I have been contacted. And by the way, I represent District 27, and it's that part of West Warwick where 96 Tyoke Avenue exists. And so I have constituents on both sides of Coventry and West Warwick. And we could argue all night about the minutia of planning and zoning. And, you know, I don't need to tell you that your decision will impact the quality of life. And the speaker before me did already steal some of my thunder, frankly, and I don't want to take your time and reiterate those points. But I'm ever mindful of an incident. We had a huge fight very recently in West Warwick with the Med Recycler that was going to go just behind a residential area. And it would have, talk about discriminating and talk about affecting negatively the values of the homes in that area. It was a dirty, filthy, and I'm going to use the word unhealthy, unhygienic process. I just worry that rezoning this to commercial, I mean, do we really have any idea what we're opening the doors to? And one side of the street, I mean, I've lived here my whole few years. One side of the street, as you know, there are some commercial businesses, but on the left-hand side of the street, approaching 96, except for that little cluster, I think it's a motorcycle shop, and then I think it's a small body shop. But after that, well, frankly, it's this side of the street coming this way. It really is all residential. So in my humble opinion, again, arguing the minutia, it really would be like a sore thumb in that area of houses, and very nice houses. What's that?
Hang on one second, Rep.
Sure.
For anybody on Zoom, I just wanted to let you guys know that there's some technical difficulties that we're having at Town Hall with our Wi-Fi. So that's why you're getting disconnected, but hopefully we won't have any more issues going forward. Just wanted to clarify. Rep. Serpa, if you want to
Yeah,
continue.
Thank you. And I'm not sure what my last thought was, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I know that the whole idea of zoning is will the decision enhance the quality of life, the health of the people in the area, frankly, the wealth of the people in the area? Taxes are hefty these days. And again, leaving that area wide open to who knows which business, I beg you to consider it carefully and keep the good residents in mind. And as I indicated, they've certainly adjusted to life there. And it's a busy road, and I just think it's busy enough. So with that, if you have any questions of me, and I'm certainly going to stay and listen to any other constituents.
Thank you, Rep.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Any other member of the public that wants to speak? Name and address, please.
Kevin Chamberlain, 55 Hibiscus Lane. My property also abuts what's being proposed as a business. When I purchased that property, I certainly didn't expect my family to be, have a business in their backyard. And then I would just ask that the council really take into consideration the community members that are staying in the town versus the one that is selling and moving away. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak tonight? Cody, is there anybody on Zoom that would like to? Oh. Gentleman in the back. Name and address for the record, please.
John Vitkevich, 119 Hummock Avenue, Portsmouth, Rhode Island, 02871. We initially tried to do this property with some housing on this property, and we found that it was becoming more of it was going to be difficult to do the housing that we wanted. It was veterans housing, as a matter of fact. So, and Representative Serpa was for that. Okay. And then when we looked at the size of the lot, we looked at where the lot is, we looked at the commercial across the street, we thought that it would be a beneficial to Tioga Avenue in in Coventry. We currently have 3 banks that are interested in the property. I'm looking for the more quiet, more reserved one. We were here twice in front of the planning board, and the planning board, the first time we were in front of them, it was 8-0 to change the property from residential 20 to general business. And the second time it was 8-1. All right. There was a member that was missing at the first time. The other thing that I'd like to point out is it's jobs, it's increased property taxes. All right. And whatever business we decide or we find that wants to buy that property, they still have to come back to the zoning board because it will require a special use permit. All right. In other words, so it's not like it's going to be a 24-hour gas station or something like that. Right. They have to. And again, the residents would have. I'm very sensitive to residents. I've done commercial developments throughout the state, and the particular one in Portsmouth, and I remember the residents very well. And right now, if you contacted 2 of the residents that abut a commercial development, they'll say we did a great job on the screenage, on the noise. They actually like it because they don't hear the wind, they don't hear. So what I'm just suggesting to the council is if the council wants to make up their mind tonight, that's great. But we're not here to in any way, shape, or form disrespect the neighbors or the property. It's a very big, almost an acre, right? And it's got a very small house. So it's not like we have to take down 3 houses and put them in dumpsters. As a matter of fact, they get somebody that's interested in the house to use it somewhere else on a farm. So I'm just suggesting to the council that they would consider our zoning petition to change it from R20 to general business. And at that particular point in time, as I said, once we identify the buyer, that buyer will have to make an application to the town of Coventry and come in front of you again. Thank you. And this is the owner.
Yes, Steve.
Absolutely. Just name and address, please.
Joanne Plant, 96 Tioga Avenue, Coventry, 02816. I just want to say that I do care about my neighbors. My family has owned that property that I'm living on right now for 4 generations. I am the 4th generation. It was a big decision to sell it, but financially, I really feel I have no choice. I do care about what goes there because it's very important to me. I spoke to one of my neighbors, Richard Krupa, on Oriole Avenue in West Warwick. He's right across the fence from me earlier this year. And we had a discussion when I told him, I'm putting it up for sale. And he told me what he wanted and what he didn't want. He didn't want bright lights and he didn't want condos there because 2-story condos would look down into his pool and through his sliding glass doors and he would have no privacy whatsoever. And I just listened to what he said because, he really went on and on about what he wanted, what he didn't want. When I got back in the house, I started to think about it. And I says, this guy's got a point because I wouldn't want condos or any kind of high rise where I would lose my privacy and somebody could just come out on their balcony and see what I'm doing 24 hours a day. So I do care what goes there. We were going to put housing for the military and we started to explore that, but nobody had any money for it. Nobody wanted to allocate any money for it. So I couldn't wait till somebody made up their mind. So that's why we moved into the general business. But it's true. I don't want bright lights. I don't want something that's open 24 hours a day, because if I live someplace, I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. But I think business would be the best thing for Coventry. We've got to get some business in town to help us with the taxes, to not be a burden on the school department, and just to bring in jobs and revitalize the neighborhood. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. Anybody else in the room that wants to speak on this item? Cody, is there anybody on Zoom with their hands up? Anybody on Zoom, if you're interested in making a public comment during this public hearing, please raise your hand. Going once, twice. Okay. Yep. Name and address, please.
My name is Rennie Petrangelo. I live on 29 Oriole Avenue, West Warwick, Rhode Island, 02893. Oriole Avenue is a quiet neighborhood. I'm directly behind the 96 Tioga Avenue property and on the side of it, on the West Warwick side. And it's a very quiet neighborhood, dead end street. And most of the neighbors have lived there for quite some time. And none of the neighbors that I spoke to want this to be rezoned general business. Is it possible to get, I know a lot of people came in that aren't going to speak. Is it possible to get them all to go on the record somehow to say that they would not like this rezoned? I know there's a lot of people sitting here that don't want it.
This is a public hearing, so they would have to come to the mic and
They would have to come to the mic. Okay, so you would have to come to the mic if you want to go on record. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to speak on this item?
Sure.
Name and address for the record, please.
Michael Lepre, 56 Hibiscus Lane, Coventry. I live directly diagonal from the property, and I really wish I don't have this in my backyard. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a weed store going in. I don't need people walking around the neighborhood because place is closed. Something's not open enough for not in time. It's a nice neighborhood. It's quiet. I mean, I know I abut Route 3 on the other side and you don't really hear what's going on, but a building going up, anything else in the way wouldn't be sufficient for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Name and address, please.
Michael Dove, 57 Hibiscus Lane. I do oppose this. Like I said, that would be directly in my backyard. Even if it was a bank, there'd be a drive-through or something and cars would be there all the time. And you'd be able to see directly into my pool and everything else where my kids are. So I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Name and address, please.
Frank Amadeo, 51 Hibiscus Lane. I also agree this shouldn't happen because I think there's plenty of vacancies. If people want to open up a business, I don't think they need to start any new ones. There's plenty of empty building space. I don't think we need to start making businesses.
Thank you. Name and address, please.
Hi, Renee Lepre, 56 Hibiscus Lane, and I would also like to go on the record as stating that I request that it remain residential and not be zoned general business. Quality of life, value of our homes, very nice neighborhood. It's not something that we want in our backyard.
Thank you for your comment. Name and address, please.
My name's Caitlin Dove, 57 Hibiscus Lane, and I also do not want this in my backyard.
Thank you very much. Name and address, please.
John Freitas, 50 Hibiscus Lane. I don't want the business there either. I do think there are other places to put it. I've lived in that neighborhood since 1965. We have a lot of wildlife going through there now as well because of all of the building that's been around that area. I think it should stay the way it is. I don't see any improvement by bringing business there. There are plenty of other locations. I'm against it.
Thank you for your comment. Name and address, please.
Colleen Freitas, also 50 Hibiscus, and I just want to go down on record that I oppose it.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this? Seeing none. Cody, one more time. Anybody on Zoom? Sorry, one more. Name and address, please.
My name is Richard Krupa. I live on 15 Oriole Ave. And Joanne Plant was saying that someone she was talking to, and she noted it was my name. I just worried, and I'm concerned that if a business goes in there, I have a nice pool with maybe 20-foot trees, but I'm very concerned that I'll lose all my privacy and it's just going to be busy in a noisy area. So that's it.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody on Zoom, if you'd like to speak on this agenda item, please raise your hand. Going once, twice. Okay. Any council member, would you like to discuss this item? Member Pasqua.
So as many of you know, I'm very pro-business. I think we need commercial in this town to offset our residential taxes. But as I sit here tonight and I see this testimony, I see a lot of residents here and they oppose it. And this is our town. So one thing that concerns me about this particular proposal is that we don't know what it could be. It's just a blank slate. And that would concern me if it was next to my house. So for that reason, I'm gonna go against this. But I'm also going to say that I do recommend we continue this because this area is actually President Lima's area, and she's absent tonight. And I think she's going to want to make some comments.
Thank you. Member Shockley.
So I can say in the past 2 years since I've been on council, the largest issue that I have with any residents in my district is when residential and business border each other too closely. I have one instance in District 5 where an existing business actually got to grow based on being grandfathered in the location it was at and has become a nuisance to the neighboring properties. So if this was a not in my backyard situation where this was already zoned for business and people didn't want a specific type, I might come at it from a different direction. But this is zoned residential. And I looked on Google Maps. I drove by the area. It's a residential area. Across the street is business. About a quarter mile up the road is business. But when you look at all of the surrounding residences, I understand why people wouldn't want this to be open because even though I 100% agree that Mrs. Plant is probably looking at this thinking we can decide. I've been on the council now for a couple of years And very few decisions are actually up to us once it's zoned in a particular way. For instance, we wouldn't have $17 stores if we could just say, no, we already have a couple. Once it's zoned for something, the ability to say no is very difficult. We can't just say we don't want it. And that's just what I've noticed since I've been on council. So that would be my fear, is that the type of business that went in would conform, and it would be very difficult to say no, even if it wouldn't be appropriate.
Thank you, Member Shockley. Member Ludwig?
So my understanding is that this had originally in a unanimous, and I think the first speaker came out and said a unanimous planning board approval, and then it was something like 8-1 on the second one. I'm just, we don't have to all shout or anything, but it would be helpful to know if anyone went to some of those hearings and provided some of the information. I am available at district2@coventryri.org. So that would be helpful for me personally. I do recognize President Lima is not here. I would be open to that continuance. My initial thought is this is Ms. Plant's land. She's gone through the proper processes. We're doing the proper processes tonight to have people come forward and voice concern. And so right now I am heavily thinking about the planning commission's decisions that were put forward, considering that as a body that is appointed by the town council. And I'm seriously considering their recommendation. I do not have to vote tonight, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Ludwig. I will entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to the first regularly scheduled town council meeting in January 2023, so that President Lima can be present for the ultimate vote.
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima is absent.
Thank you very much. Agenda item C1, applications for renewal of campground licenses. A Yoho Campground, 249 McManus Road, Coventry, Water's Edge, 119 Peckham Lane, Coventry, Hickory Ridge Campground, 584 Victory Highway, Coventry. Mr. Marchant, have there been any police issues and or zoning issues with any of these licenses?
None have been reported. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, are you approving the block or just the first one?
The block.
So you need to entertain a motion to approve the licenses as a block. When that motion carries, if it carries, then you can entertain a motion on the block.
Appreciate the clarification. I will entertain a motion on the block of these campground licenses.
You have to entertain a motion to take them as a block.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to take the campground licenses as a block.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima absent.
Now you can entertain a motion to approve. the block.
Entertain a motion to approve as a block.
Make a motion, we approve all three licenses as a block.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima absent.
So the applications have been approved. Agenda item C2, new application for firearms license, RI Gunworks and Trading Post LLC, 15 Sandy Bottom Road, Coventry, unit number 3. Mr. Marchant, have there been any police and or zoning issues?
None reported.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve this firearm license.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
First and second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
and President Lima absent.
Thank you. Agenda item D1, discussion action, council to interview candidate Earl Reed for the Juvenile Hearing Board. Is Mr. Reed here tonight? Good evening.
Good evening.
You can just state your name and address for the record.
Earl Reed, 109 Town Road, Coventry, Rhode Island.
Thank you. And if you could share a little bit of your background.
A little bit about myself. I was on the Warwick Police Department for almost 23 years, retiring as a detective lieutenant. I was appointed to the Juvenile Hearing Board originally in 2017 while I was still employed by the city of Warwick. I retired from the police department and became a full-time teacher at Coventry High School in the Regional Career and Tech Center, running the criminal justice program. The first year I did both and realized that isn't something that I should continue to do through full-time jobs. So I ended up retiring from the city of Warwick and taking on the new challenge of the high school, and being appointed to the Juvenile Hearing Board was something I thought would be beneficial for both the high school, the town, and also my experience as a police officer.
Thank you very much. Any members have any questions for Mr. Reed? Member Shockley.
Hi, thanks for being here tonight. I do wonder, as an educator in the town school system, are you concerned that you might see some of your students or students who you have to work with, and if that might be an issue?
I actually love that fact, and I think that's makes the Juvenile Hearing Board more effective for myself, because I can actually follow up with these kids instead of having to wait when we have them come up for review as part of their sentence from the Juvenile Hearing Board. They come back to us and see us after their community service, after their assignments or sentence is completed. But I actually follow up with these students at the school when, unfortunately, some of the incidents happen at the school that bring them in front of us. It's not anything major. Obviously, these are first-time offenders, and it's usually simple assaults, disorderlies, maybe a minor drug possession. And things like bullying or the cyber harassment and things like that. So I think being in the school with some of the kids, it is one of the first things I do when I receive the reports is look, and knock on wood, it hasn't been any of my students yet. But seeing the kids in the high school the next day and talking to them and telling them at the Juvenile Hearing Board, I'd like to see you tomorrow and we can sit down and talk and see where we're going to go from here. These kids are just making dumb mistakes, and they need to be held accountable, and they need to learn and move on. And I think actually being there at the school is actually more effective than not.
Thank you very much. Member Ludwig.
Mr. Reed, I visited your classroom last year while I was taking a tour of the high school with Superintendent Levis and Principal McComber. And I believe that was about the same time there was some national program you were going down to DC for, and one of your students was being recognized. So I know it was a while ago, but I did see some of your firsthand work in the classroom, and very, very good things happening there. So thank you for putting your name forward.
Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? Can you just speak to how long you live in the town?
I've lived in the town for 25 years. My wife is from West Warwick. I'm from Cranston. When we got married in 98, we found a house being built on Calvin Town Road, and we've lived there ever since. And we just celebrated 24-year anniversary. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here, and I'm not starting over. The mortgage is getting close. So with 3 kids, 2 in college and 1 on the way, I'm staying here.
Thank you very much. Just so you're aware, we did receive 1 additional application for this board. So we will not be able to make any appointments tonight.
Sure.
But certainly appreciate your time, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Agenda item B2, discussion action, schedule a public hearing for the issuance of additional mobile home licenses. Mr. Marchand, do you want to speak on this item?
Perhaps Director Durfee can back me up, but under the ordinance, we have so many mobile home licenses per thousand of population, and we have an outstanding allotment that are unused that we could add more mobile homes. But in order to add mobile homes, there is a process for the petitioner to request a specific number and go before the town council in a public hearing. So we've gotten the request, I believe, for 23 new mobile homes. This is not the full allotment 22. And this is not the full allotment of what could be added, but that's the request we have. And so they are requesting that the town council schedule a public hearing for this.
Thank you very much. Mr. Durfee, do you have anything to add? Okay. I would like to entertain a motion to continue this agenda item only because we do not currently know our town council schedule for FY 2023. And until that schedule is discussed, I think it's hard for us to actually schedule this public hearing unless the council disagrees. Member Shockley?
No, I think as long as we have this on an agenda to put forth the public hearing, then I think that that's fine. I understand we have to confirm when we will be meeting before we can do this. Horse.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So I will entertain a motion to continue this agenda item.
Mr. President, I would advise you entertain a motion to have it put on a future agenda when those dates are known for public hearing.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to continue this agenda item to a future town council meeting for a public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima absent.
Thank you. Agenda item number 1, resolution to appropriate funds to Coventry Public Schools due from in the amount of $2,212,688.92. Mr. Marchant, do you want to speak on this item?
Yes, this was a result of some accounting discrepancies in prior year audits that had been carried on the audit books year after year. And in the 2021 audit, we met with the members of the school finance team to come down to a true up of how we can resolve this. And they agree that this is the number. And so these are essentially funds that the town has been holding that are due to the school. And this resolution allows the town council to authorize town staff to release those funds to the school department.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution to appropriate the funds to the Coventry Public Schools in the amount of $2,212,688.92.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Member Ludwig?
So this has been outstanding for, I don't even know how long, 2 years, over 2 years. So I just want to say a big thank you to all the parties involved. I believe we actually had come to an agreement on the number itself. I think it was back in September, but we had held off a bit to make sure that we were getting the financial statements, that we felt like we were in a good position to transfer the funds over. And this came after a very long discussion, month after month after month. Vice President LeBlanc and I had attended multiple sessions with the Auditor General, the finance manager, town finance manager, town manager, the auditors, the school finance managers and superintendent, et cetera. So there's been a number of people involved in this for multiple years at this point. And I'm glad that we can get to a resolution here. These funds in this process is an old way of us handling funds between the municipal and the school side. This would probably be a good example, Mr. Marchant, to include in your summary of how we have, since Lisa joined us, done things differently. So my understanding is we should no longer have any votes or anything necessary on a due to, due from. And if you can have Lisa maybe walk us through the new process as a part of the earlier discussion on the summary points of the changes she's made, I think that would be helpful for the public.
Certainly. And just to add to that, these funds with the approval of the council can be transferred instantly tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Marchant. I was actually going to add, I went back to the August 22nd resolution and we didn't include a date in the resolution. So I would like to amend the resolution as written. After where it says the dollar amount, it says to be paid by the town from the fund balance. And then I would just like to say by December 13th of 2022.
I'll make the motion to amend to include the date of, what was it, December 13th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
and President Lima absent.
I will entertain a motion to now approve the resolution with the amendment.
I'll motion to approve the amendment with the amount and date of tomorrow.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima absent.
Agenda item E2, resolution approving a contract amendment with Beta Group, Inc. for changes to the scope of work of the comprehensive plan update. Mr. Marchant, do you want to speak on this item?
Yes, this item is before the town council again, after having reviewed it. When Beta was brought on board, there were some unexpected absences and staff turnover that prevented them from getting the work done by the town that was intended to be performed by the town. And so they took on additional work. There was also additional work when we found volumes of input that had been received during the 2018 comprehensive plan effort. And it was decided that it would be in the best interest of the town to have all that input incorporated into this comprehensive plan. And that took additional hours of work that was not contemplated in the original contract. So it ate it up on the front end, and here at the back end, this resolution represents a change order to pay for that work, but allow the rest of the work that was contracted for to be finished by the consultant rather than by town staff. And this will get the project done in an expeditious manner, still on target for a completion by May 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Marchant. I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution with the amendment to Beta Group, Inc. for the changes to the scope of work of the comprehensive plan.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Member Shockley.
So I think every day I'm on the council, I've realized more and more how important it is to update our comprehensive plan. And while this is a significant amount of money, I don't want to make light of it. I also don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish. I want this to get done, and I want it to get done in a timely manner. We've gotten almost there too many times. And I don't think we should take an already overtasked staff and ask them to complete this plan because of this amount of money. We need to discuss. Does it say in here where we want it to come from? ARPA. Okay. I think that this is an important document to complete, and I think having professionals complete it is important. And this is a place where I think, while I don't want overages to come to my attention in the way they did, we need to know sooner if something is going to cost more than was approved or expected. This is an important document, and I plan to approve this.
Any other comments? Member Lowick?
I know we're in a really tough position here, Director Durfee. I know I was very difficult and very stern last time about this, but I do agree with Councillor Shockley We need to get this done. We have the right resources and the right focus. I am going to be approving the use of the ARPA funds. And I do want to make sure my counselors know here, I am done approving the onesie twosies out of the ARPA funds. I will not approve, and this is for the public as well, I will not approve anything else that is a side amount out of ARPA funding. We have had huge conversations about major infrastructure items that needs that money. I am ready to bring ARPA back to the table in the new year. Let's make some large decisions. I am not going to be able to look my constituents in the eye and say, I spent 20 grand on this thing. I spent 10 grand on that thing. And at the end of the day, we're not going to have any of these items spent on something that we can actually hang our hat on. So tonight will be my last approval of the 10 to 20K range of ARPA funding. Thank you.
Member Pasqua?
The question, this is a question from Manager Marshott. So was this already agreed upon to Beta Group? Did they understand they're already going to be paid on this, or is?
No. So what happened was they went into contract to perform a comprehensive plan for the town for a certain amount of hours. And then with the $20,000 worth of hours that they ate up doing staff work and incorporating the 2018 plan, they're now $20,000 hours short to finish the project. So that's kind of how it got here. And so the decision, we haven't engaged them to complete the work because of this decision tonight as to whether we would have town staff carry it across the finish line, which they're experienced and capable of doing. But as noted, they're understaffed and they've had a huge amount of development applications come in the month of November, and things are not slowing down in Coventry. There's a lot of business going on and staff doesn't have time to do this. And with this consultant, we work great together. They're the experts and they've got a process and a plan, and we just want to see them take it to the end.
Just a point of clarification. I thought the last time this was on the agenda, Mr. Durfee had said that this work had already been authorized, completed, and approved by both him and you.
Yes, but it was as part of the process early on. This was work that they were doing that ate up the hours, and so we're short at the end. I mean, if we could have broken that project out, like. And said, okay, we didn't have a director here for 13 weeks. We didn't have the 2018 thing. We should have gone to the consultant and said, could you bid us an amount for what it will take to cover this 13 weeks when we were without a director in this 2018 study? We didn't have them at the same time. So this was just work they were doing and we were approving their work. And when it came before me, I said, yes, we want to include the 2018 input. I didn't ask them to update their quote. They didn't know how long it would take. And so it wasn't until July when they said, there may be a problem here. And that didn't get on the agenda during the the election for the new budget and a number of other priorities that I didn't get it in front of the council until later to say, here's what the actual cost and impact is of those decisions.
Appreciate that. I know this wasn't the first time that work had kind of been authorized without coming to the council. Going forward, I just want to make sure that before any work is done, any agreements, any authorization with third parties, the council gets the right to either approve or reject.
Duly noted.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima is absent.
Thank you, Clerk. Agenda item E3. I'll entertain a motion to continue this to a future town council meeting.
Motion to continue.
I'll second it.
Clerk, any discussion? Just for the public's knowledge, the only reason why this is being continued is because we received an additional application for another candidate. We just want to be able to interview that candidate before a decision is made. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shockley,
Yes.
Vice President LeBlanc,
Yes.
President Lima absent.
Thank you, Clerk. Agenda G, public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to speak during public comments? Anybody on Zoom? Ms. Cody? Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Council. Nick Longo, 5 Autumn Ridge Road, Coventry. I just want to make a quick comment about a common theme that I hear at the meetings, and that is the chronic staffing vacancies that administration faces. I can speak from experience. I was for 22 years an administrative manager in charge of budget and finance with a large division of employees, accountants and analysts. And we found great effect hiring temps from agencies that have professionals in their ranks. And there was a number of benefits to that, one of them being that we were able to catch up the work. And I know that's one of the problems that Coventry's admin has right now, is that the work isn't caught up because they don't have staff. But then if you hire a new staff person and they have to come in and get things caught up, it really can be a problem. So if you had professional temp employees catch up the work, then when you get the new employees, they have a much better success rate when they get there and they're not overwhelmed. As well as what we also found was that very often hiring the professional temp like an accountant, very often if we liked their work and they liked us, then we would bring them on as permanent employees. So it was a very good resource to fill those seats. And when the seats are empty, there's a lot of risk to town assets. And so this could really save a lot of money. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. If anybody else on Zoom would like to speak, name and address for the record, please.
Anthony Nautilillo, 10 Colby Drive. I just have a quick question. The money approved for the schools tonight, does that go towards the maintenance of effort, or is that just a one-time payment and that's it for stuff that wasn't transferred previously?
That's a great question, Mr. Nautilillo. It is a one-time payment. It does not go to MOE.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else on Zoom? If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Anybody else in the room that wants to speak during public comment? No? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:19 p.m.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Pasqua,
Yes.
Councilmember Ludwig.
No, it was too short.
I'm going to cancel out her vote. Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Shockley.
Again, an emphatic yes.
Okay, Vice President LeBlanc
Yes.
and President Lima absent.
Have a good night.